Do want to take a look at some of the other big developments coming in out of the Middle East right now. Take a look at that post on your screen as Israel is saying that 2 Israeli civilians were killed in the north when a Hezbollah rocket struck their vehicle. This comes as the terror group continues intensifying its attacks on northern Israel and comes after the Hezbollah leader's former bodyguard was killed in a strike. Do want to talk about this and all of the latest developments, so let's bring in Dan Arbell, a scholar in residence at the Center for Israel Studies at American University and a 25-year veteran of the Israeli Foreign Service. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you, Josh. Good morning.
Good morning. So first off, I do want to talk about that attack there by Hezbollah. We know that they have been increasing and intensifying their attacks there. So to have 2 Israeli civilians killed, does that mean that Israel will intensify its retaliatory attacks against Hezbollah?
So this is part of an ongoing back and forth strikes that Israel has been conducting inside southern Lebanon, and in response, Hezbollah has initiated beginning October 8th attacks on Israel. Yet the two parties are trying to walk a thin line here, not to have a full escalation blown out to a full-fledged war. And it's very hard. Israel did target a Hezbollah operative yesterday and the other day in Damascus, and in response, Hezbollah fired rockets into Israel. Unfortunately, this led to the death of this couple, leaving 3 young orphans. A real tragedy. However, this is part of a ongoing tit for tat, and I don't think this would necessarily lead to a blown out full confrontation at this point. Each side has their calculations and has their measuring stick of, if the other side crosses a red line. Right now, I guess they've not reached that conclusion, but this doesn't mean that it won't happen in the coming days.
We know that once again, and this is the second time, Hezbollah has posted drone video of Israeli military sites. My question for you on that topic here is, what is Hezbollah trying to prove, and is Israel concerned about that being published?
I think part of Hezbollah's warfare is psychological, and I think that they're trying to show that they've got, they want to show Israel that they know where bases are, they know what's going on in Israel. And not only can they photo them, video them from the air, but they can also hit them if they so decide. And so, sending a message to Israel that, if Israel wants to attack us, you guys better be ready, because we are in a position, we know where you are, and we can get to you. So I think it's part of that psychological warfare that accompanies the actual fighting on the ground. Of course, Israel, it's no strategic surprise for Israel that Hezbollah has these capabilities on one hand. On the other hand, it is a concern that if we enter this confrontation, then Hezbollah can hit some sensitive locations inside Israeli territory.
Speaking about the situation between Israel and Hamas, does it appear that there are peace talks that are maybe moving forward, like we could be closer to an actual ceasefire hostage release deal actually being reached? Because I would say weeks ago that seemed almost impossible.
Well, Josh, this is you're asking the million-dollar question, because right now the parties are convening in Doha, Qatar. You have the CIA director, Burns, you have Mossad chief, you have the Egyptian head of intelligence, and you have the Qatari prime minister, and they're all putting their heads together, trying to see how to get to a deal which would allow a release of hostages and a temporary ceasefire. And this is happening as we speak, so it's not clear where this is heading, although over the weekend there have been some optimistic reports that Hamas accepted some of the conditions that Israel has put forward. Israel is willing to be more flexible. A lot will depend, on the will of the parties themselves, of Israel and Hamas. We're not there yet. It may take time, but one has to be hopefully optimistic about where this is heading. We're in the midst of it right now, so there's no telling of where this is leading.
And I do want to take you back out live to this image we have showing the Israel-Gaza border. It's one that we've shown quite a bit over the past several months here. So Amin Abed, a well-known activist there in Gaza who has protested against Hamas, was attacked on Monday, we're told, by a group of masked men. So is this further proof that not everyone in Gaza is actually pro-Hamas? And is this something that's commonly happening to those in Gaza who do oppose Hamas?
Well, first of all, it does show that not everybody in Gaza is on board with Hamas and supporting Hamas. Definitely something that there is a lot of frustration, agitation. People in Gaza, a lot of people are very upset with Hamas. On the other hand, Hamas knows very effectively how to silence its critics and those who oppose it. We're not seeing widespread dissent or widespread opposition to Hamas because Hamas simply kills its opponents. Nevertheless, if you look at as more and more people in Gaza, raise their heads and kind of oppose Hamas, it may have a domino effect later on. Right now, we're not at that critical mass point yet. But it is interesting to watch as to see what's happening inside the Gaza Strip among civilians in Gaza.
My final question for you here. The U.S. Director of National Intelligence, Arbell, actually said in a statement this week that, quote unquote, actors tied to the Iranian government are posing as protesters and influencing these Gaza protests that we've seen in the U.S., as well as providing financial support to them. In reality, is this anything surprising, or is it essentially confirming what we maybe already knew?
This is also a great question because, we've seen the protests that are very organized, financed very adequately. We realized at the time that there has to be someone, clearly behind it, not just it's not just a kind of grassroots protest. These are groups that are financed by other actors. It is surprising, though, how Iran is able to reach inside the United States, despite sanctions, restrictions, limitations, on money transfers and so on and so forth. The fact that Iran is managing to actually have an impact inside the U.S. homeland is quite surprising. So it remains to be seen, what the scope is and what we're actually, this could be curtailed. This could be stopped in the near future. We're not, but it's definitely something that we need to watch out for.
And one more question here before I let you go, just based on your expertise. If there is a deal, a ceasefire hostage release deal that is terms are come to there between Israel and Hamas, does that likely end the Hezbollah attacks that we've seen on northern Israel, or could those continue?
It's also an open question because conventional wisdom is that once war in Gaza is over or fighting stops, then Hezbollah will stop, firing at Israel. The question is, what will Israel do? And, once the Gaza front is quiet, temporarily quiet, will Israel decide to finally move ahead and conduct a full-fledged operation inside southern Lebanon against Hezbollah? So on one hand, it could lead to a calming down on both fronts in the south and in the north. On the other hand, one cannot rule out the fact that maybe there will be an opening of a more aggressive new front on the Israeli-Lebanese border.
All right, Dan Arbell, scholar in residence at the Center for Israel Studies at American University, 25-year veteran of the Israeli Foreign Service. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us and break down the latest developments there. We appreciate it. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
Thank you. As always, Josh, I want to, express my hope that there will be finally a hostage release deal for a temporary ceasefire, and we'll finally see these innocent civilians that were abducted on October 7th brought back to their homes in Israel and wherever they're from. This humanitarian saga needs to end right away. Thank you.
All right, Dan, thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you.
All right, I do want to take you out to this post here once again, just to go over the latest details. This is coming in from the Israel Foreign Services here. They posted this photo and said 2 Israeli civilians were murdered when a Hezbollah rocket directly struck their vehicle. We hold the Lebanese government responsible for every single rocket fired from Lebanon toward Israel. May the memory of the victims be a blessing.